Hello and welcome to Who We Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along podcast. My name is Cameron. If you got that, I'm probably talking way too fast. I am going to be one of your hosts this evening or morning. I don't know when you're listening to this. Maybe you're listening to this in I said morning and evening. What's a time that's not morning and evening? Maybe you're listening to this at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, I guess that's still morning. I don't know. Hello, guys. Welcome. Today, I have my co host, Ben. How you doing today, Ben?
I am doing well, just living my life, watching TV shows.
What TV shows are you watching, Ben?
I started watching Severance.
Ooh, I resubscribed to Apple Plus because there was I don't know if you how much you're aware of this. Apple loves giving away free trials for Apple Plus.
Mhm.
So I've just resubscribed for Severance because I want to watch it because people are talking about because season 2 just came out. So Ben, what do you think of Severance so far?
I knew the premise, which was seemed interesting. I knew it was very well loved. I know that season 2 is on the way, so I said, screw it. Let me get Apple. And I watched the first 2 episodes. Very intrigued.
Hmm.
It's building this atmosphere, this mystery, what is really going on. I don't know what it's building to, but it has a really good sense of atmosphere, and I don't even usually notice it, but I thought the cinematography was really good. A lot of interesting shot compositions and lighting and stuff. Really good so far. I'm definitely gonna keep going.
We'll definitely join you at some point. That's my the next show that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch that. I just got off of a Mad Men rewatch, so I'm thinking I'm gonna watch a couple movies. I think I'm gonna get on the Severance train soon.
Hmm.
But this is not a Severance podcast, Ben. This is a Doctor Who watch along podcast. This week we had the last of Sarah Jane Smith as a traditional companion, you might say.
She returns, but this is the end of her run.
Yeah. Of course, I'm talking about The Hand of Fair.
Yes,
Ben, are you aware that The Hand of Fair came out October 2nd to the 23rd in 1976?
I was.
It is the second serial of the 14th season of classic Doctor Who.
Feels like Hinchcliffe is starting to wind down.
Directed by Lenny Mayne. Do you remember what Lenny Mayne did before this?
He did Peladon, right?
He did the Peladons and he did the Three Doctors.
Uh,
This is his last story. He dies a year later. There's a great documentary about him on the season 10 box set. So if anyone is interested, go and watch that documentary. Written by the duo Bob Baker and Dave Madden, which makes a lot of sense. I feel like this, you can kind of tell that this is a Bob Baker and Dave Madden joint. Of course, they did before this Claws of Axos, The Mutants, The Three Doctors, and the Sontaran Experiment last.
yeah, this definitely feels in the vein of something like the Claws of Axos.
And yeah, except for that, the traditional behind the scenes crew of season 14, highest viewership was pot for Sarah Jane's exit drew 12 million UK viewers, which you would have to imagine back in that day. Like, I don't, what was the population of Britain in 1976?
According to Google, 56 million.
So, over 1/5 of the population watched Sarah Jane leave the TARDIS. But that just puts in perspective how cultural the show was at this point. Imagine a show nowadays that 1 out of 5 people watched, except for sports. We don't have TV or movies like that. We just came off of the death of David Lynch, and I was listening to a podcast. They were talking about how the first episode of Twin Peaks got 30 million viewers, and you're just like, you're never gonna get a TV show that had 30 million viewers the first episode in recent times. That would be insane. But yeah, tangent enough. Ben, what did you think of the Hand Affair?
Pretty good. Definitely to break it down, I think the biggest thing this story has going for it is definitely Sarah Jane leaving, which isn't really felt throughout the serial. The other 95% of it is good, but not great. The villain is pretty interesting, and I could definitely tell Elizabeth Sladen was having fun playing like a evil version of herself. Eldrad must live and all that. And I thought the cinematography of this one was pretty good as well. That was something I noticed. What did you think of it, Cam?
I never have seen The Hand of Fairy up to this point. Of course, I've seen like the last 5 minutes multiple times on YouTube, but like I never sat down and watched The Hand of Fair. It was always one of those like big holes in my Doctor Who, well, the watch list of Doctor Who. I actually really enjoyed this story. I pretty much, I would say, for the most part, like the Bob Baker and Dave Martin joints. I like Claws of Axos. I actually like the mutants. Sometime Experiment is a lot of fun. I think this continues that tradition of just they know how to at least make a fun action adventure serial for the whole family to watch. This isn't going to be groundbreaking. They're not going to try to reinvent Doctor Who, but the whole family's going to at least enjoy it. Down to like the 6 year old and dad is going to both enjoy watching The Hand Affair.
Yeah, that's something I definitely felt, it's the most kind of like prototypical fun action adventure Doctor Who story. Nothing that is like really making it stand out from the crowd other than Sarah Jane leaving. Not that it's bad, it's just very typical. It's nothing we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and it doesn't have like also like anything that it doesn't have like a grit to it or like anything that you're like, wow, that's really creative and interesting, and that like the way that the story does this is like that's never been done before. It's like no, this is pretty much we all have seen this story before. But saying that, I enjoyed watching it throughout the majority of it, except for I think it does get a little hurt pacing wise in pot four. I much enjoyed it when it was the power station on Earth. When we get to the other planet,
Astria with a K.
yeah, the cashier stuff really does, I think, hurt the story overall because I'm not like the story loses me by that point. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah. When it's just like 15 minutes of them dragging her through different traps and stuff,
And then, of course, when Eldrad has their sex change, it is also hurt because you're like, who is this person? I don't care. I don't care about them.
yeah, the second male actor for Eldrad is definitely way more generic monster guy
Yeah.
than the first form, more feminine, which the makeup for that is really good.
Yeah. And the actress does a really great job for that performance as well.
Mhm.
Where, like you said, like the guy that performs it is just giving it a generic over the top science fiction. "Ah!" You're doing a lot of "Ah!" like it's
Sounded like every big monster that they've had before.
yeah, there's nothing there.
A mixture of Zygon and Santarin and whatever. Just, ah, I'm gonna get you.
I am totally in agreement with you. So let's we're not gonna go beat by beat because I don't think the story deserves a beat by beat, but we can at least start with what did you think of the opening sequence with the quarry? They are actually out in a quarry
I know. I was gonna say it. For once, they land in a quarry and it's an actual quarry
and there's a big explosion. What did you think of the opening chunk?
with like the sirens and
Yeah. And then the big explosion.
what do I think? I don't know. The sirens were a little obnoxious. I feel like the doctor should have addressed that a little bit more like, "Oh, what's that?" But just like they're very casually kind of walking like, "Oh, what's going on here? There's a giant explosion. Get out of the way."
But I think it works extremely well for a start of a story. You have that immediate just okay. Like you imagine you're just about to change the channel, and then the sirens start happening, and you're kind of like, okay, what's gonna happen now? And then the explosion comes, and Sarah is buried, and then you get the hand stuff. Like all that stuff is like it instantly engages the audience. Of, okay, I'm interested in what's happening in the story. And then also it just has that initial just mystery of just what's wrong with Sarah.
And there's a stone hand in the quarry. What's that about?
Yeah, just like that initial mystery box of just the stone hand. And then the doctor, they go to the hospital, and then of course we get the great sequence of Sarah leaves the hospital with the hand and the ring, and then goes to the nuclear power station and just barges right on in.
Blasting people with the ring.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier the cinematography. I think that's the stuff you probably were talking about.
Some of it, yeah.
They use like the stuff that's shot on 16 millimeter looks great. You can tell they used a really wide angle lens and it's handheld. So it creates a documentary like aesthetic, or at least a documentary for that time aesthetic where they would have been shooting on 16 millimeter. It's really up and close with the actors.
Yeah.
It is great. It really creates a dynamic for that sequence that really makes it engaging. And I think that a lot of shots really do hold up to this day. They look incredible. I was also sometimes where they use the same like wide angle lenses where the characters are away from the camera. So it really makes the characters look small in comparison. It looks great. They use the power station in that sequence really well. Like talking about using a location, like they used it fantastically. And like good on them that they were able to actually get an actual power station. Fun fact, Ben, that was supposed to be the nuclear power station from Claws of Axos, but they weren't able to get that location, so they had to change the name.
Oh, like it was supposed to be the same one in universe?
Yeah, because like remember it's Dave Martin and Bob Baker, so they like, of course they
Oh, yeah.
would be like, oh yeah, we could use that one. They couldn't. And then Sarah she goes to the reactor room, and then we get some great stuff of the Doctor going into like the nuclear like main room and then talking to all like the heads not the heads but basically the main guy, Dr. Watson. There's some good stuff there of the Doctor trying to convince that he needs to speak to Sarah, but Dr. Watson just being like, nah, dude, get out of here, you're creating more chaos. And it's just like, oh, let me talk to Sarah. And of course he does, and everything is all good after that. Well, actually, no, everything's all good when he actually gets to into the reactor and pulls the Sarah out, which is a great sequence.
Oh, yes. Talking her down and putting her under.
And of course, I forgot to mention that there was the doctor in the hospital that also was influenced under the Elrad spell. So then
Yeah, Dr. Carter, who tries to kill him later.
and there's a great death from Dr. Cotter of falling down the long stairs, scaring those 5-year-olds to death, being like, that could be me falling down the stairs from the doctor. Let me actually review the first. How much is the doctor involved in that death? Or does he just let the death happen?
I'm looking at it now. So he swings for the doctor. The doctor, like, dodges, and the momentum causes him to throw himself off the stairwell. So the doctor didn't push him or anything. It's his own undoing.
To save him, there's one shot of like the doctor's like puts his hand out when wait, he's already fallen like a couple of feet. There's no way the doctor's gonna be able to catch him. But like he tried his best. It's not his fault. Goddamn Elrad's spell.
He's like already 10 feet down by the time the doctor reaches out.
Oh yeah, no, he multiple feet. There's no way the doctor is gonna be able to catch that him after that fall. But then of course we got some great stuff of the doctor and Sarah once Sarah comes out of it.
Oh,
And like
yeah.
the doctor is like examining her and asking her questions about Elrad. Then at that point, Driscoll, who's like the boy that is assigned to get the hand, but also gets the ring and fucks everything up.
Hmm.
And yeah, then basically stuff happens, but the main thing is at that point, basically Elrad gets regenerated into her female form.
Hmm.
Am I missing anything between Driscoll getting the hand in the ring and then Elrad comes into play? This is a great bit where the Doctor and Sarah and Co run away from the nuclear power plant because it's gonna get bombed.
Hmm.
The Doctor doesn't flinch or anything, doesn't prepare for the bomb, and then the bomb doesn't go off because of course Elrad absorbs it. This is going all over the place, but I gotta mention it. I did love the scene of Dr. Watson staying at the nuclear power plant, thinking that the nuclear power plant was going to go haywire and like he was going to basically die. He was staying at the plant, and then he called his wife,
Oh, yeah.
and like he was telling his wife to,
Put the kids to bed and
I'm not going to be home. I'm running a little bit late on the office. Like that stuff was really, really good.
mhm.
Really real, also. Like you would not expect that from a kids' TV show. That's definitely that put the thought into a couple of children, probably a little bit too young to be like, Jesus, that's dark.
Yeah, it's subtle enough where it feels real.
But yeah, basically, then Alvad comes into play. She's there. She's a woman now. and the doctor is fascinated by this. There's a great scene where Dr. Watson shoots her. Then Elrad is about to kill him slowly and painfully. And then the doctor steps in her way. And then the doctor and Sarah and Elrad leave to go to the TARDIS. And then we just linger on Dr. Watson, just in mental shock, having to try to comprehend how the fuck he's going to explain all of this that just happened to basically this one day. Like insanity. I'm going to go in the loony bin
No one will ever believe me.
unless like a unit steps in and says, "Oh, he's okay. Everything's fine."
I mean, if he mentions the doctor, presumably the unit will pick up on that. I'm sure they keep tabs on anyone saying the doctor, any reports that mention the doctor.
Let's hope. Unless he's going in the loony bin. But anything else to say before we move on to the pot four stuff? Am I missing anything, Ben?
Yeah, there's one kind of scene I really like, which is them going back into the nuclear power plant. Doctor says, Sarah, stay here. Stay with Dr. Watson or whoever it is. I'll go on alone. And Sarah runs after him. It's like, I worry about you. And the doctor's, I worry about you too. We'll be careful. We'll both be careful. There's not a lot about this story that feels like this is it for the two of them. But that was one moment that I like thought, yeah, they do really care about each other. They're best friends. This is it.
There's a couple of great moments in the story of just to show off how great they are chemistry wise.
Yeah.
We then are to Castria, and then Alvad gets hurt. So then, like you alluded to earlier, they have to basically bring her to like get another regeneration. And it's kind of just nothing really happens at that point. There's a couple of booby traps. It just kind of goes on for way too long and it's pretty boring and dull
Just them dragging her.
and very boring sets, which is not the production team's fault. Like they probably had no money to build those sets, but it's still boring to look at. Then gets regenerated into a man, like we already mentioned, for the worse. It does suffer because the male actor is just not as interesting.
Yeah. He becomes king of nothing and nobody.
Yeah. And then basically, Alvad gets defeated.
Down a bottomless pit.
We gotta just mention real quick. There's some great stuff in there with Elrad in the TARDIS and the Doctor. I found that stuff to be fun. But yeah, then basically we get the peak highlight of the story, which is the end of Sarah Jane, and it's a really beautiful sequence of the Doctor fixing up the TARDIS and then Sarah just going on a rant while the Doctor's not even listening to her. And Elizabeth Sladen is just giving her all in her for that performance, saying that like how she's not gonna miss the sonic screwdriver. What did you think of that scene, Ben? Just like the first part of it, her getting mad at the doctor.
It's a little sad. Or just like frustrating, I should say. It's a little frustrating.
Why frustrating?
Because he's got to listen to her. But I think he literally couldn't hear her.
Yeah, he's concentrated. He needs to fix the fucking TARDIS. Like he can't listen to her whine.
Elizabeth Sladen does a really good job.
And then Tom gets the message from Gallifrey that he needs to go back with some pretty decent like computer imagery. I think it would have been computer imagery at this point. I know it probably would have been like CSO at the point.
I don't know what that is. There's some of it earlier, I think, on like the screens on Castria
Yes,
of some kind of effect. But it's a new kind of technology, seemingly. They haven't really.
and the camera's like zooming in and out at the same time.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the saddest companion departures, mainly due to the performances of Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Every single time I watch it, I get almost teary eyed, and some days I might even get teary eyed. It is so sad.
They're both heartbroken that the adventure can't continue.
It's not acting, you know? You can tell that Tom is visually upset that Liz is leaving the show. In particular, he is like almost in tears. Like he's going to miss his best friend and the TARDIS together. Somewhat, this departure never made sense to me because it's like, all right, you have to go to Gallifrey. You can just, after Gallifrey, just come back to visit her. But like, we just gotta he just gotta go to Gallifrey and just never come back.
He can't control the TARDIS.
No. Well, if this proved anything, like because it was not even South Korean. That's the joke at the end that he didn't even send her to the right place
Yeah, he dropped her off in the middle of nowhere.
with the dog, at least.
At least she has the dog. She gets to talk to the dog, saying he screwed up one last time.
And like the blocking of the scene is also well done because it's like him putting back on his jacket with his emotion is it fits the scene really well with Sarah with like all the stuff in her hands, packed away, ready to go home. And of course, she mentions the Brigadier, Harry, and Benton. And then she's gone with a freeze frame. Because, of course, it's every sad ending needs a freeze frame on the character.
Of course.
But yeah, what overall, Ben, what did you think of the departure of Sarah Jane? I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, it's sad. She grew on me a lot. Far from who's this? This isn't Joe. Is she the longest companion we've had? 3.5 seasons.
Season wise, no, no, because I think no, Joe is at least tied with her.
Joe just did three.
Yeah.
8 through 10. Sarah did 11, 12, 13 and a half.
Yeah, so season-wise, yes. Episode-wise,
I mean, episode-wise, Jamie probably had more, but
yeah, Jamie probably did have more. And I would say, like, just like if jumping just to final thoughts on the Sarah Jane, like as a companion run, I feel like you can kind of tell that, in particular, her pairing with Tom, it's just one of those moments in the show where you just go, like, this just works. You can tell that the actors themselves get along really well. In the same way as you mentioned Jamie, you could just tell that Trout and Fraser Hines really liked each other.
like friends in real life.
Yeah, and you could tell the same here that like Tom and Liz just had a chemistry together that is just you put them on a TV screen and it just works. It almost feels like they were casted to like chemistry wise. That's how good the chemistry is. And it's so shocking that they weren't casted for each other because the dynamic is that strong.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like even in Robot, there's a lot of great stuff in there between the two of them. And then of course in Lock in Space, the whole like the doctor convincing her to not convincing her, but belittling to make her encouraging her to go down the air duct.
Yep.
Just so many great moments of just them, just the two of them talking together. It is just there's a reason why Tom Baker is the iconic doctor and Elizabeth Sladen is the iconic companion.
Is she the iconic companion for the Fourth Doctor? More than Leela or the Romanas?
There's only a spin-off of one of them.
That she is true. But also, I know there's way more books and audiobooks for the others.
I think part of that is Layla, and I don't think as well, like Layla, because one, audiobooks doesn't count because still Aiden died, of course, before Tom did Big Finish. And then books wise, I think we get a lot of Layla books, not Layla books, Romana books, just because writers, of course, would want to write a book that's kind of Douglas Adamsy. Of course, they're going to write Romana 2 stories because they want to like evoke that era of the show and they want to do their own Douglas Adams story. But yeah, Ben, talk to me. What did you think of Sarah Jane overall?
Like her whole run?
Yeah, her whole run.
I don't know how much discussion you want to save for the Philip Hinchcliffe retrospective.
Well, one, we can't even like her first season, it's not even included in that.
True. Her whole run, very, very great companion. You know, like I said, she has come far from who's this? This isn't Joe. I want Joe. Give me Joe, please. To where she is as of Hand of Fear. I can definitely see why she's so beloved and why she is deserving of not one but two spin-off TV shows.
But also, like, put it in perspective, it's like you bring back this show, and in the second season, you decide we got to bring back that character. Like, they could have brought back anyone. That's that second season. Like, they could have brought back Susan at that point. They could have brought back the Brigadier.
Are you talking about series 2?
Series 2 of New Who.
Oh, she's in it?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Sorry, spoilers.
I knew she was in Sarah Jane Adventures. I didn't know she was in Doctor Who proper.
Yeah. No, she's back. She comes back at the show. So
Oh.
like she's that beloved that they were like second season of the new show, they needed to bring her back, which just shows you just how loved she is in the fandom. And like I don't know how much you're aware of this, but like that episode in particular, it's called School Reunion. There's a lot of people that like are in like their 40s, 50s, 60s that watched like this era Doctor Who as a kid. And the only episode of New Who they watched was that one episode because of course they're like, I don't watch the episode with Sarah Jane in it. There's a reason why she is the great Doctor Who companion. The big thing I would say is just like she is much more where a lot of other Doctor companions before and after Sarah Jane are just there to scream. Sarah Jane is not just there to scream. She will get in there. She has agency of her character.
I mean, she definitely screams, but she feels much more of a partner than a sidekick.
Imagine another companion on her storyline in Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah. No. As we've said before, I think like even in like all the way back in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, she
Yeah.
is interesting enough where she can carry her own B plot and have that be equally as interesting as whatever the Doctor is doing.
Which is not the case for a lot of companions.
Absolutely. Harry couldn't carry a B plot.
No. Which is why he was always stuck with the Doctor. Or with Sarah some episodes. There's a reason why she is the best classic Doctor Who companion. I think only rivaled by Ace. I'm excited for you to get to see Ace.
It's gonna be a while.
And I think like Jamie is up there.
I love me, Jamie.
Just because like again, just talking about like a doctor in a companion relationship. And then of course Joe is great in her own way of having that father and daughter perspective of a Doctor Who companion, where this one is much more like the Doctor says it multiple times, in particular, the fourth Doctor says, like, meet my best friend, Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to Sarah Jane because imagine that with other companions, you would go, bullshit, that's your best friend. But when he has the big Tom smile of, this is my best friend, Sarah Jane Smith, you go, yeah, that's your best friend, Sarah Jane Smith. You buy it 100%.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that might be a wrap on Sarah Jane Smith, Ben.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. She's already gone.
Yeah. Time Warrior feels like just yesterday. Real quick, off topic. I listened to a companion chronicle yesterday. The Forbidden Time, which is a Polly, Polly,
Yeah.
which is a Polly companion chronicle. But there was a line from Fraser Hines saying like, Jamie thinks he's about to die, and he's like, it's been fun. You all are my best friends. I wouldn't trade it for the adventures I've had with you for the world. And I'm like tearing up a little bit. I love Jamie.
Hmm.
Need more companions with that.
I thought you were gonna say that about Ben and Polly. Because do you think Ben and Polly are the Doctor's best friends?
No. I gotta say though, Polly, I did not like, or I didn't really like. She has some really good companion chronicles though.
Interesting.
Gives her a lot more agency than just the girl in the background who always makes coffee, because that's mostly what she does.
Yeah,
But yeah, really giving her a character.
Big Finish is best when they are put in a situation like that where they are given like a freedom to like create their own. That's why it's like I never listened to the Fourth Doctor adventure stuff, but it's like I don't think that stuff is probably gonna be as good as the Eighth Doctor stuff, just because it's like I already know what a good Fourth Doctor stuff is. But having them be able to take an interesting take on like the Sixth Doctor, that's more interesting to listen to because it's like, what is your take on that?
Hmm.
Because your take on Tom Baker is just gonna be you're trying to do more Tom Baker.
Oh, and I finished the Sarah Kingdom trilogy of First Doctor Companion Chronicles. Those are all really great.
But another like going to that point of Big Finish that it's best when they're able to like really add to something and not be able just to like let's try to redo that again, guys.
Yeah. There are definitely some of them that are just like, here's another story with the First Doctor and Ian.
Yeah.
And there are some that are like really evolving and adding to these pre-existing characters and ideas, which are some good ones. But yeah. Cliffhangers. Da, 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 da. The first one, it's alive. The hand absorbs the radiation from the reactor and begins to move.
Solid first pot cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah. The second one is the reactor core is about to explode or unexplode, implode. The third on Castria, Eldrad is shot with a poison dart. And then the last one, of course, Sarah is dropped off at the wrong address and she talks to a dog
And freeze frame.
and freeze frame.
Of course, the best cliffhanger is the first one.
Oh, yeah, by far. Not counting the fourth one, which isn't really a cliffhanger. The first one, by far. The hand starting to move is feels like an iconic moment from this serial.
Yeah, and it's the moment of like the serial where it is that's the only part of the serial that is gothic horror is the hand.
Hmm. So Cam, what would you rate this episode?
I think, do I like the story as much as Robot? I do not. So I'm just gonna give Terror of the Zy. I think this is on par with Terror of the Zygons. Not gonna lie. I think this is just a solid 8. Nothing bad. Nothing like too great. It's just a good overall story. I think it's an 8.
Yeah,
That's my 2 cents.
I agree with that. It's a very solid, but not groundbreaking.
All right, Ben. Rankings. Of course, Doctor Who Magazine does a poll every like decade, going over where a story ranks in the Doctor Who fandom. For the fourth Doctor poll in 1998, it ranked 20. In 2009, it ranked 21. In 2014, it ranked 17. And then in 2023, it ranked number 19. So kind of in a similar spot throughout the run of doing this, except for in 2014. I think I'm pretty much more in the 2014 camp of I think this is not like and deserves to be like 2021. This is deserves to be more in that 15 to 20 range.
Definitely, yeah, closer to 15 than 20.
So we will see in our rankings overall where that would rank compared to the poll. I don't think we did that for the third Doctor. We really should do that for the fourth Doctor. For the fourth Doctor when we're done is add them up all together and see where it ranked overall compared to the magazine to see where we are different from the fandom. If you know what I mean. I think that's gonna be it for Hannah Fair. Next week, of course, Deadly Assassin. I'm excited for Deadly Assassin. One of my favorite classic Doctor Who serials. Period.
You've seen it before?
Oh, multiple times. I love The Deadly Assassin.
Excited for a rewatch?
Oh, always.
Well, I will look forward to it as well. So tune in next week.
Remember, YouTube, TikTok, Trump saved TikTok.
Hallelujah. Thank God.
Anyways, remember, we have shorts. Watch the shorts. We've been bad about shorts. I need to get better about editing shorts. So I apologize about that. We will get back on the shorts. So please watch us wherever. Basically, we're everywhere. If you look up Who We Viewed on anything, you'll probably find us, except for we're not on Red Note. Are people still going to be caring about Red Note? Do people care about Red Note now?
I don't know. One of my coworkers has been on Red Note before even TikTok died and came back to life.
Are they communists?
No. So
Goodbye, everyone.
have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace out, everyone.